Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dustina. This is Spiritually Boujee Astrology, and we're going to take a look at the astrological transits of September 8th to September 14th. Now, before we do any type of recap, breakdown, or anything along these lines, quick little reminder for everybody that I am running a special, an eclipse season special for the month of September. All you have to do is go to the website, www.thespirituallyboujee.com, go to astrological services, look for the icon that says eclipse season special. My hour-long sessions right now are $35. My 90-minute sessions right now are $50. Take advantage of this sale while it lasts, because this will be the last full monthly special that I will do for the rest of the year. So if you have a goal that you want to meet me in October, November, December, but you don't want to pay full price, then do your booking now to ensure that pricing. Because again, I will not do another full monthly special for the rest of the year. So if you're wanting the time, get it booked in September. So there's that. Now, full disclosure, at the time that I am recording this, the lunar eclipse will be perfecting. I'm literally recording this early afternoon on September the 7th. So if the intuition takes over, because the downloads be downloading right now, and certain things just start to very clearly see like me drifting off in part of my conversation, it's because the downloads have been coming through literally, I want to really say since Uranus turned retrograde. So that's kind of more been Friday night, more than anything, but like a lot of clarity, a lot of visions, a lot of more personal. And I'm going to talk about one personal one here in just a second, because it feels like a really great example of where we need reflection around Saturn. But there's the full disclosure. If I get a little drifty in my words and I start going on a tangent, I apologize. There is your disclosure. Now, I had a really interesting set of dreams last night. And for those that don't know, I'm actually a Pisces moon, and where this lunar eclipse is perfecting is like right on top of my moon in Pisces. So I'm a 14-degree moon. The eclipse is going to be at 15 degrees, right on top. So that's been fun. Last year, when we had the last lunar eclipse, Saturn was on my moon during that one. So I already knew the pattern was going to be there. I knew the downloads would be there. It was literally just like the build up to this pattern has been very exhausting, emotionally exhausting, physically exhausting, mentally exhausting. But finally, once I got into the weekend, it's been a much clearer vibration of like, I just want it to come through. I'm tired of the build up. Just let it come through. Now it's coming through. Last night, one of the two dreams that I had to do with a property. I am familiar with this property, but I no longer have claim over it. I no longer have ownership of it. I no longer have responsibilities around it. I have a very clear image of like being called to help, keyword here. And once I'm there and I'm talking to the people who now have it, I'm seeing water flooding in. Now, this property is nowhere near water. It's in Oklahoma, but nowhere near water. There are ponds and stuff on there, but it's not that. It's just it was this clear image of just water seeping up the property line. And right whenever I'm to the edge of it, trying to come up with solutions, is when I wake up. But when I wake up, I don't have panic. I don't have frustration. I need clarity. Pull the cards. What do the cards say? Not your pig, not your farm, not your responsibility. So it's a very clear indication to me that as we go through these next few months of Saturn being in Pisces, as well as now being activated by the Pisces eclipse, as much as you love something, as much as something used to mean to you, sometimes it's okay to say, not my pig, not my farm, not my shovel, not my shit. If you have another one, I would love to hear it in the comments. not my responsibility anymore. And that takes me now to the unfinished business of Saturn. We've now had a full 7 days. We're at day 7 right now at when I'm recording this, of Saturn being back in Pisces. And I got to tell you, the emotional weight of Saturn moving back, I felt it. A lot of people felt it. You had like a funk. It felt like you needed to cry. It felt like you needed to yell. It felt like we needed to get something off our chest. There was an emotional pressure, an emotional weight here that has been very hard to alleviate. Now, once we got through the full moon, and if you had to cry it out, if you had to yell it out, if you had to go do something else to get your emotions out, some of you will go into this week with some initial rounds of clarity. Some of you will gain clarity to something this week. Others are going to have a long-term effect of emotional turmoil in regards to what we need to heal, what we need to release, what we need to let go of, who we need to let go of. Now, I don't put release and letting go in the same aspect. Sometimes release is just we have the pent up emotions. They're stored in our body. The trauma is stored in our hips. Something is here and it's stored, and we got to release that. Find ways to release that from our body, whether that is through yoga, whether that is through physical activity. You do you. Everybody's got a different idea. There's a need to release. But others need to come to terms with something is no longer your responsibility to be a part of, to care about, to deal with, to reckon with. Now, the thing is, Saturn just came back into Pisces. It just happened. And his retrograde will not end until November. It's the 28th, 29th. It coincides right with a Mercury retrograde, and I keep flipping those two in my head. I don't remember which one's which, but it's that weekend. There's something we have to come to terms with, that it's no longer our responsibility. And as soon as you come into it within your own self, things can get lighter. I didn't even know I was going to have an issue with that until it came through the dream. And then I woke up, I'm like, but I don't feel like I need to fix it. And I'm a fixer person. Like, I'm one of those people, like, you tell me something's wrong, I'm going to tell you ways to get it solved, whether that is spiritual or whether that is real life. And if you've ever had a session with me, you know that's the truth. Like, I do the real life stuff too. Some people are going to have weeks of trying to come to terms with the fact that they are no longer responsible for something. They are no longer needing to delve back up. But after you do come to terms with it, whether it's in the short little span of like a one-nighter or the long span of the next few months, human effect is the human effect. There's something about also expressing that boundary, holding the boundary. And Saturn rules boundaries. By staying committed to your boundaries, by staying committed to what you have needed, what is necessary for you, protecting your emotions, being clear about what is right and what is fair. And some people do confuse the idea of like boundaries in regards to like a selfishness, like me getting what I want is my boundary. And that doesn't always work, because you don't always get what you want. They made a whole song about it. You don't always get what you want. In other ways, there's going to be an awareness of what you can get, as well as what needs to happen, that again impresses on everyone. There's something that needs to happen that makes things more fair or more clear. There's some level of like karmic clearing in a lot of ways now that Saturn is back in Pisces. I knew that was going to happen. I felt it coming. Then I got to deal with the first few days of muck with you guys. And then once the clarity came through, I'm like, oh, I don't need to rehash this. I am done. I'm okay now. Oh, freaking Saturn and all that it's doing. But Saturn's not our only thing. We are still in the lunar eclipse vibration as we start this week. The moon will still be in Pisces for the first part of Monday. Now, I might not be doing a whole lot, but there will still be downloads. There will still be visions. There will still be the feelings. There will still be the emotions. There will still be the needs that we need to purge and heal and things along these lines, the releasing, the letting go. But I don't feel like everybody is immediately in an active format with it. I think that there's going to be this series of human effect events letting you know how to address, when to address, what to address. Some people will have clarity by the end of the week. And there's a specific reason why I'm saying this part. And that is Mercury going into a Cazimi. And that's going to happen on Saturday. And anytime a planet comes into the heart of the sun, there's something that can be seen, showcased, debuted, revealed. Now we're talking about a Mercury Cazimi, Mercury going into the heart of the sun. Information, news, there can be clarity, signatures, different forms of confirmation, something coming to light, something coming into focus. It's a very mercurial heavy thing because whenever we're going through this clarity, we're going through this debut, we're going through this revealing of coming to light, the moon will also be in Gemini, Mercury sign, other sign. So the very mercurial, informational, clarity, idea, topic heavy, travel heavy for some of you because Mercury rules travel, vibration around the latter half of this week. There will be clarity. Now, for some people, the clarity is going to be based off of whatever emotional downloads came through midway through the week that by the time we get through, well, the early parts of the week, and last week, but by the time we get to the end of the week, we have to start making logical decisions because it's the only way to get out of the emotional funk. And we can have a stair step of situations that leads to exactly that. For other people, there's just a course of action that needs to happen this week, an action or reaction to balance the scales, to put things where they need to go. And we again get to the end of the week and we understand something, we reveal something, we learn something, something is revealed to us, debuted, showcased, green light. I got news. I got an announcement. I got a plan. There's stuff cooking. There's stuff going on. There's stuff happening. And we can see parts of the vibration build into levels of clarity. Whatever got activated for you in the mundane sense, because some people was very mundane. I got to be honest about that. Like there's a very mundane vibration. Like the moon went into Pisces and whatever Pisces represented, like we had the most mundane thing. I'm a fifth house person. So I spent yesterday afternoon with my niece's birthday parties. That's not even a joke. Fifth house of children spent the afternoon doing anti-birthday duties. So there's that. We had the mundane stuff. In addition to that, though, we've had the activations. We've had the clue in, we've had the emotions, we've had the triggers. What do we need to heal? What do we need to release? What do we need to let go of? What is our unfinished business? Saturn going back into Pisces speaks to unfinished business, the awareness of it. But our ability to work through it requires our logic and our logical mind and communicating things and working through things in some level of topical, written, logical, communicative manner. Why do I say that? Why do I say specifically like a logical manner? Because of the other half of the eclipse axis. And that after we go through the emotional activations of whatever came through in the Pisces eclipse, we're building to the second eclipse. We've had two we have collectively 2 new moons in Virgo. We've already had the first one. We had the black moon, activating some stuff about moving behind the scenes and in the shadows and doing some things that not everybody was privy to. It was exciting, but not everybody was quite privy to that yet. After the Pisces eclipse, activating and letting us know the area of unfinished business, there is the other side of what needs to be explained, what needs to be written, what needs to be communicated, because the other half of the eclipse axis is in Mercury's sign. And we're building to some new vibration that speaks to the full activation of what I was saying before of like lateral movement. Not saying that we're not going to continue to have growth, because we are going to have growth, but it's not going to be like, again, going from like a taco truck to brick and mortar quite yet. It's more along the lines of like, we're going to have a following around the taco truck. We're going to build the social media. We're going to do everything to get attention and active right over here using just a taco truck, because we all like tacos, right? I don't know anybody that doesn't like tacos. And if you don't like tacos, we might make fun of you. Don't put it in the comments. Don't put it in the comments, but still, going off of the taco truck idea, like we want to build the following. We want to be able to post on social media. I'm going to be here. And then the next day, a different place. And the next day, a different place. And knowing that this is so popular that people will follow the taco truck and go no matter where it is. Sometimes that can be a few hours. Sometimes that can be, just a few minutes, depending on the situation. But the idea is that we're going to start to work towards creating something new that is kind of that lateral vibration of connectivity. Spoken, proven, logical connectivity. And part of the Mercury Cazimi will also indicate what we are showcasing, what we are building to. And even though it's not direct in regards to this transit by like the degree sense, I do strongly get the impression that whatever is a part of the Mercury Cazimi at the end of the week is also going to lead to the vibration around the actual eclipse. That will be the week following on September 21st. So I do feel like we're in a stair step of vibration. Now, whenever it comes to the energy of this week, I like it. I like it better than I like last week. And it really kind of comes down to, like, again, how you're dealing with Saturn and Pisces. If you have literally felt the flood of emotions and weight and depression and melancholy just struggling, bringing you down, we still have unfinished business with Saturn and Pisces. If you come to terms with certain things this week and you are making certain decisions that allow you to release and let go of the control around something, and afterwards you just feel hella lighter, that's your Saturn and Pisces unfinished business lesson coming into clarity. And now recognizing that we still have months of testing as to like whether we're going to stick to that or not, because that's going to be the rest of the Saturn retrograde. Some of us, we're going to be the ones in the assistance area of like coaching other people through, while others are just going to struggle. I hate saying that. Some people will literally continue to struggle until the retrograde ends. And that's when they're going to finally turn something around. And that's when they will finally let something go. So if you see people right now struggling with their emotions, struggling with the melancholy, struggling with depression, being triggered by certain things, having things test past addictions, past weights, past wounds, past trauma coming up to the surface, there is Saturnian healing, karmic healing that needs to happen. But if you are not weighted down by the vibration, then we are more focused on the other side of the energy. And all of this week feels like a gradual course and steps towards getting something clarified, towards getting something showcased, towards getting something debuted, getting an announcement put into place. And that announcement, very, very likely for most people, is going to have a direct impact to what we start to do after the second new moon in Virgo, after the second eclipse. Where you are sitting right now really comes around that where we need to come to terms with things. It really is the bigger focus of whether we are dealing with the weight and the melancholy of the Pisces side, or if we're able to make practical, necessary steps around the Virgo side. That's the axis that we are in. That's the vibration that we're stuck in. And you have to make choices on whether you're going to stay stuck in one side or productive on the other. Because Mercury is a busy, busy planet. It bumps around a lot. It does the most retrogrades in a year. He's busy. And that's why I'm going off of that level of axis teetering right now. Some people will stay stuck in the melancholy all week. Others will have triggers and tests in regards to it. I feel like a lot of other people are going to have the ability to bounce around and make some movements and make some things happen. And if you are able to make more things happen, you are like me and you are that support person of making everyone else understand what they're going through at this time. Okay, that's enough of that. I'm done ranting. Let's get into the transits. Let's get into Monday. And whenever it comes to Monday, we're going to still have the moon in Pisces literally until 1:38 p.m. Central Standard Time. So you notice I have it at 1:30. I'm literally starting it right at this area. The reason I did that is because between noon and 2 p.m., the moon will make a conjunction to Saturn. So you can see this right here. And this is either going to be coming to terms with the responsibility, coming to terms with something from the past, coming to terms, meeting someone face to face in regards to like an authority figure or an elder. We can have conversations about responsibility. And for a lot of people, this is going to be the old stuff coming back around because this is the first moon Saturn conjunction since Saturn retrograded back. On top of that, of course, we're still finalizing that full moon eclipse energy with this conjunction to Saturn. And this is kind of why I was so heavy about it in the beginning. I'm not going to beat up on it a whole lot more right now. Now, again, at 1:38 p.m. Central Standard Time, so I'm going to bump this by an hour, the moon is going to go into Aries. Now, normally when the moon goes into Aries, I'm quick to say like full steam, we're reacting to something, there's actions that need to be taken. But I don't feel like we have full steam. One, because we are still lingering off of that full moon effect. Two, because of the condition of Mars and Mars being in Libra. Mars in Libra doesn't have the same gumption. He doesn't have the same kind of energy. He doesn't have the ability to do things quite the same way. It's very quick for us to get exhausted. But that doesn't mean that we don't take action. And over the course of the next 2.5 days, while the moon is going through Aries, there is like action that we're trying to do, but it's like sometimes we're going against the grain. Sometimes it's a little bit restless. Sometimes it requires a little bit of finesse and not just pushing something really hard, punching it into place. We've got to do things carefully, cautiously. We've got to take a Venusian vibration around a moon in Aries because Venus is hosting Mars. And that's why I'm saying it that way. Now, the good news is Venus is in a fire sign. It's in Leo right now while hosting Mars. So we do have the ability to still take action, but it's like a showcasing in the action. We have to show examples. We have to show results. We have to really put some things into focus and into perspective for certain people. And that can be a challenge while the moon is going through Aries. Now, can some of us still go into this with like steam and action and excitement? Yes, but it won't last. You'll go into the day like you just drank all the Red Bulls or whatever energy drink or coffee or whatever you drink. But then by the time we get into like the early evening time, whenever you would still be on your high, you'd be like, no, I don't have it. Get through just a few things in the morning, afternoon, evening time, like, oh, I'm exhausted again. So be aware that we can burn our energy faster than normal. And a lot of that has to do with the condition of Mars and Libra. Okay. So let's get into that part. Now, as soon as the moon goes into Aries, it's starting some energy. So between 2:30 and 4:30, I'm just going to list them all three at once as to what it's doing. So I got it now at 3:30. This is going to help give me all three of them. Between 2:30 and 4:30, the moon's going to make this conjunction to Neptune. You can see it right here, 1 degree moon, 1 degree Neptune. Simultaneously, as soon as this conjunction is over, the moon is going to hit a sextile to Uranus. Now, Uranus is retrograde, so it's actually moving back towards the moon. So there seems to be like something about an acceptance here whenever it comes to the vibration around Uranus. But there's also like past frustrations, past betrayals, past fears, past traumas, past triggers that can also be a part of this because we have Pluto also in the sextile to the moon. The moon in Uranus is between 3 and 5 p.m. Pluto's sextile to the moon is between 3:30 and 5:30. So basically, from 2:30 to 5:30 p.m., we can have that stair step situation of like one thing after another of like busy, 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 hit, 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 hit. One that's confusing, one that's inspirational, one that tells us something that we did not know. It's revealing something to us. And that's that moon Neptune stuff, the discovery of something. Now, whenever it comes to the Uranus part, Uranus moving towards the moon, there's like an unexpected acceptance. There can be something that speaks to a little bit of excitement, an exciting turn. Remember, Uranus also just turned retrograde in the last few days. But with Pluto's vibration, adding in a mix there can be frustration, there can be traumas, there can be triggers, there can be past things, there can be insecurities, there can be frustrations, there can be the projections of frustrations just as much as there can be the understanding of frustrations. So be aware of that. When it comes to Monday afternoon, once that moon goes into Aries, it's like we have to do some rapid things really fast, but because of the condition of Mars, it's like once we get all that done, I'm zonked. I'm done. I don't want to talk no more. I don't want to be around nobody no more. I don't like this feeling. I'm feeling hazy. I'm feeling frustrated. Nope. My energy level is kaput. So that's why I'm saying, like, you get a few things done, but then by afternoon and evening time, we're zonked, we're drained, and we need to recharge. Do not try to push yourself further if you're hitting the wall of recharge because you're not doing yourself any favors. Now, that's the rest of Monday. Like all of Monday is mainly those lunar transits. But remember, this moon is just right off of a lunar eclipse. So that's a very powerful moon. It's still got full moon vibration, even once the moon goes into Aries. So be aware of that. All right, now we're going to get into the 9th. And whenever it comes to the 9th, the moon is going to be in Aries all day long, but it's not doing anything. We have other transits that are kind of building and kind of coming into focus, but they're not happening. They're not exact. So we have things that speaks to like a buildup. We have things that speaks to actions and desires. And there can even be some restlessness if we don't have certain things going on the way that we want to. And we don't seem to really hit a better vibration until the evening time, where we can get something talked about, get something accomplished, get something understood, and even have some levels of questioning. So I got this now at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we're going to talk about the two transits that are happening basically in like a simultaneous stair-step vibration all at once. Between 7 and 9 p.m., again, I got it at 8:30, the moon in Aries is going to hit this trine to Venus. Simultaneously, though, the moon is going to hit a square to Jupiter. This is happening side by side. Now, the square to Jupiter is between 8 and 9 p.m. Again, the trine with the moon and Venus is 7 to 9 p.m. So, I'm sorry, moon square Jupiter is 8 to 10 p.m. So this is all happening in the evening time between 7 and 10 p.m. And this feels like, in one way, questioning the doctor, the guru, the teacher, questioning someone that gives us hope, that gives us lessons, providing assistance to the doctor, the guru, the teacher, providing assistance in regards to care. But with the moon hitting the trine to Venus simultaneously, there can be an extra level of inspiration. There can be an extra level of activity. And I do kind of feel like there's something in the moon when it hits aspects to Mars and Venus within the same 24-hour period, which will happen a couple of times this week, by the way. Whenever that's happening, I feel like it's also giving us a glimpse to something that's going to happen in the next week. So it feels like the first step of pushing something, questioning something, giving deliverance towards something, giving an idea towards something, giving guidance towards something that can appear fair, fun, righteous for a lot of people. Now, for some people, there can be frustrations, there can be tensions. Anytime we have a square, which the moon is squaring Jupiter, there can be things that feel like judgment in this area, but they don't have to be that way. With the moon hitting the trine to Venus, like there's something that we're trying to empower that is also giving vibrations around, like, yes, fairness, but like a showcasing how something is seen, how something is expressed. The thing about Venus and Leo is she has not been doing a whole lot since the opposition to Pluto. Like, she really hasn't. So anytime we're getting these little small lunar transits to Venus, a lot of this has to do with like the appearance of things. It has to do with the fairness of things. It isn't big, bold, but it feels like steps in a direction, steps in a situation. For some people, it is closing out some prior stuff because of the idea of like Venus bringing solutions and results since whatever happened over the summer. But a lot of other ways, this could be like an element towards a result, or towards a vibration that we've been trying to work towards, an understanding of sorts. So it's a really interesting vibration, and I have a lot of hope for it for a lot of people. But I feel like there's going to be more than one person involved. There's a lot of activity involved. And you're not going to get a one and done answer in whatever you're getting activated towards right here. I feel like it's going to be something towards, again, a buildup that will come through the following week, just to be clear about that. Sometimes we have to have certain preliminary types of meetings before we can get everything accomplished. And I feel like whenever we get to Tuesday evening, we can either be pre-planning something, pre-putting something together, doing something that speaks to, again, getting some things accomplished. But I don't feel like we're doing all the accomplishment right here, just to be clear. Okay, moving along. That's the only transits to Tuesday, is the moon trine Venus, the moon square Jupiter. So now we're moving into the 10th. We're moving into Wednesday. I don't know why I flipped my page. And for the most part, the moon is going to be in Aries until we get into the afternoon. Now, in the overnight hours between 1 and 3 a.m., the moon is going to hit in opposition to Mars. Remember what I said before is anytime we're having something where the moon is hitting Venus and Mars simultaneously within a less than a 24-hour period. We had moon Venus in the later part of Tuesday. Now we're getting moon Mars on this early parts of Wednesday. So this could be a continued effect of whatever we were doing on Tuesday evening. But this can also be like our minds being like kind of going into overdrive or overload because of that opposition to Mars, of like all the actions that we want to take of how to take something forward. But again, it's happening in the overnight hours. So we're not all taking action right here. Some of us might have late night tension, late night frustration. You could have a restless, sleepless night of, again, trying to understand an action that we need to take, but it's like we haven't either accepted all the things that need to be accepted to make something happen, or we haven't been shown everything yet. Some people we haven't been shown yet. The moon hitting this opposition to Mars can have tensions around it. And again, sleeplessness, but not getting a lot accomplished. Frustrations can be real. Let's be honest about that. Now, let's get into the morning time between 8 and 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this now at 9:30. The moon is going to make a conjunction to Chiron. You can see that right here. Now, anytime the moon hits a conjunction to Chiron, this feels hopeful. This feels solution oriented. This feels like us trying to discover something as to how to fix something, what we need to do to make something easier, to make something better, the action that we can to create solution. But there can also be the awareness of like old wounds. And that's a real thing. Anytime we've had certain conjunctions to Chiron, old wounds, old dealings kind of find their way back up to the forefront. And I feel like the solution orientation is really going to be a big part of like the next few days. But I feel like we need to have the meeting about solutions before we can move into anything else. Now, after the moon's conjunction to Chiron, The moon's going to go void. It's not going to be doing a whole lot. At 3:04 p.m., I got this now at 3:30, the moon is going to go into Taurus. The moon is in Venus's sign. It is in its at exaltation. It's in a sign where we want things to go well. We want things to go right. We want things to go be comfortable in a lot of ways. We don't feel the need to push something forward. And I feel like once the moon goes into Taurus, we're going to want to show things that give us pleasure. We're going to want to experience things that give us pleasure. We're going to want to work through additional things that can be future pleasures, like lead to future things that we want to showcase. But I don't feel like we're having an initial vibration completely around showcasing whenever it comes to the early parts. I feel like once we get to the end, so more like Friday's energy, whenever the moon is still in Taurus, like I feel like there's a lot of build up in that energy, and there's going to be a lot of things that kind of start to happen. But I feel like most of all, like this is going to be an easy, chill, comfortable connection vibration once the moon goes into Taurus. But I do feel like we're going to want to do things that we want to kind of show off, or we want to be seen in certain ways once the moon goes into Taurus because of the condition of Venus, and Venus being in Leo right now. Okay. And I only bring that up because Venus rules Taurus. Okay. The moon is now in Taurus. Now, I will say the interesting factor as to while we're getting into that moon in Taurus is we also have the sun hitting this conjunction to the south node. Now, anytime we have conjunctions to the south node, this is the body of the dragon. This does not immediately have to be a physical activity. This can be a download energy. And this first part of the moon being in Taurus might have some triggers in the download energy in regards to something that we want to change that is image oriented. Why am I saying that? The sun rules Leo. Venus is in Leo. The moon just went into Venus's sign. And immediately upon this entry, the moon will also go through a square with Pluto. Now, the conjunction between the sun and the south node is actually the most exact between 2:16 and 2:41 p.m., but I'm still showcasing it right here. And I wanted to talk about it right here because whenever this was actually active, the moon was void. Now the moon is in Taurus, and I feel like there's going to be the internalized awareness of things that we want to be comfortable where we need to be comfortable, where we need to feel safe. And if there's anything that we're looking at that does not bring us comfort, we're going to wrestle with the idea of letting it go. Some people are going to be wrestling with the idea of what we need to change or adapt or transform to feel better, to look better, to sound better, and again, be comfortable. But now, like thinking the concept of being comfortable in our own skin. The actual square between Pluto and the moon is somewhere between 4:30 and 6:30 p.m. So I got this now at 5:30. Got Pluto here, 1 degree, 36 minutes. Here's the moon, 1 degree, 29. So it's very close to being exact right here. And the thing is, Pluto is retrograde in this square to the moon. There can be a trigger here. There can be a frustration here. There can be old wounds here, but there can also be the awareness of like something that has transformed or something that no longer gives power over another person. And I feel like some people are going to release the idea that something does have power over them, or they're going to have the first trigger of something that does have power over them that in the long run needs to be released. But for some of you need to come to like mental terms with it as to whether that's going to be the case or not. It's kind of a mixed bag. It really, again, kind of comes down to like how you're still coping once we got through that eclipse vibration. All right. Again, Pluto square to the moon is between that 4:30 and 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. After that, there's nothing going on. The moon's not void, but there's not a whole lot going on. And now we're going to get into the 11th. And the funny thing is again, the moon's in Taurus the whole time, but we don't have a whole lot going on. We actually don't start to hit our transits until the evening time. And I feel like once we get to this evening time of the moon being in Taurus, we kind of activate like a 48-hour window of vibration because of how many transits that are going to start right here and continue all the way till Saturday morning. So this is why I'm saying 48 hours. It's more like 36, but human effect, we're going to say 48. Okay. First things first. Between 8 and 10:30 p.m., the moon in Taurus is going to make a trine to Mercury. So you can see the moon right here, 17 degrees, 52 minutes. Here's Mercury, 18, 17. But what is Mercury doing? Oh, Mercury is starting its conjunction to the South Node. Our logical brain is starting to come to terms with the realization of something that we want to change, something that we want to remove, something that we want to let go of, something that we are doing differently, something that brings us peace. If you do not need to purge something, when a planet makes a conjunction to the South Node, what you actually come to terms with is like the minimalization and being acceptance of being at peace with something. But if you are not accepting peace at this moment, if you are not accepting of being clear and calm, then you are more coming to the logical mental terms of what is changing, of what is happening. Now, I'm not done because we have a lot of transits that are happening all right next to each other. So again, the moon is going to hit that trine to Mercury. Mercury is hitting that conjunction to the South Node. And then right afterwards, the moon is going to hit the trine to the sun and a sextile to Jupiter. If you notice, Jupiter and the sun are entering a sextile. That's almost exact. This is actually a part of the exacts of what we're going to talk about on Friday. But there's a lot of energy here throughout Thursday evening that speaks to a logical awareness of something that needs to be released or purged. If it's not about purging, then it's like what we've come to terms with, what we are at peace with. And there's more than one entity involved. It's not just the internal vibration. The moon hitting the trine is talking it through, understanding it, supporting it. Well, trines are of the nature of Jupiter. And again, the moon will hit this sextile to Jupiter while it's in a trine to the sun. Now, this is going to be the most exact between 10:30 on the 11th and 12:30 on the 12th. So I'm still building off of the initial energies of what we talked about. But I feel like, again, we activate something that we want to start to showcase, that we want to start to reveal the result of something that we've been working on for a while, of something that we're going to start to take forward. And a lot of people are going to be coming to terms with something. And this is all very much a buildup to the Mercury Cazimi that will happen on Saturday, because Jupiter sextile to the sun, it's not exact, but it's almost there. Jupiter will also sextile this Mercury. Before the Cazimi happens, the Cazimi will still be in a sextile to this Jupiter. So this feels like a stair step in a process of vibration, taking us forward into what is going to be debuted, what is going to be showcased, what is going to be revealed, what is coming to light over the weekend. And we're still only on Thursday evening. Now, again, the moon hitting this sextile to Jupiter and this trine to the sun, it starts on the 11th. It will take us into September 12th. So you can see this right here. And we're just past the trine. We're just past the sextile. But what you'll also notice is that Jupiter and the sun, their actual sextile is building. It is actually going to go exact at 2:04 a.m. to 2:52. So I'm going to bump this to 2:30 because this is going to give both of our next two transits simultaneously. We have the sextile between Jupiter and the sun. You can see that right here, Jupiter 1948. Here's the sun 1948. It is exact. Simultaneously between 1 and 3 a.m. So I'm just past it on the exactness, but it's still very active. The moon is hitting the square to Venus. This is permission. This is judgment. This is questioning. It is a square. Squares can have a harsh nature to them. But the sextile of Jupiter to the sun doesn't necessarily feel harsh, but it does feel like it offers clarity, that it offers guidance, it offers permission, it gives direction, it gives lessons, it gives support, it gives hope. What I'm looking at is if you layer the vibration here, Jupiter is in the moon sign while the moon is hitting the square to Venus. So sometimes the lessons can still feel like judgment, even though they're not judgment. They can feel harsh, even though they're not. Other people are going to feel the support of what we're about to showcase, of a grand idea, of this new vibration that's starting to come to light, of about what's going to get revealed. Be aware of that. We've got layers here. Now, after this overnight hour stuff, for some people, this will continue off of whatever was going on Thursday evening. For other people, this is going to have that human effect of it, like it's taking place first thing Friday morning. So do not be surprised if Friday is busy because we have other transits that are going to be happening. Now, again, this Jupiter sextile to the sun, we get inklings of something that's going to come through, that's going to get debuted, that's going to come through over the weekend that we're about to start to showcase, and there's a lot of support there. But then after that lets up, we ain't got a whole lot going on until the afternoon. So we're going to get this now to about 2:30 because we have a couple things going on simultaneously. And we have this, again, back to back to back vibration that's going to happen. Between 2 and 4 p.m., Saturn is going to hit a sextile to the moon. So you see here at 2:30, I've got it just in that first part of the sextile. If I bump it, go ahead and bump into that 3:30 time frame, we're a little bit closer. And this is going to happen right before the moon changes signs. Now, Saturn is retrograde this time, so it's moving away from the sun. And we can have certain conversations where certain responsibilities are getting withdrawn, certain support is getting withdrawn, or if you're asking permission for something, you're not getting it. Saturn doesn't want to move forward. Saturn is retrograde. It's moving in the other direction. Some of us might be getting some extra layer of a previous lesson or previous permissions that's starting to feed into the energy. And that could be one other layer. It's like something from before has led to what's being showcased now, what's being debuted now, what's being worked through now. And that's a lighter way to deal with it. I don't feel like this is heavy, but I don't want to escape the idea that some people might feel the weight of Saturn right here. But I feel like for a lot more people, that whatever is starting to come to light, come into focus, feels like it's a long time coming. And that takes me to the next aspect. Between 4:43 and 4:54 p.m., I'm going to put this at 4:30 for just a second. Jupiter will go through its exact sextile to Mercury. And you can see this right here. But at 4:39 p.m., so while this is going on, the moon is going to move into Gemini. It's going to move into Mercury's sign. And this takes me down to, this is a very heavy mercurial weekend. As soon as Jupiter goes through that sextile to Mercury, the moon goes into Mercury's sign. The moon goes into Gemini. What does Gemini rule for you? What does Virgo rule for you? What does Mercury rule for you in your chart? Because understanding the mercurial aspects is also going to understand where we're going to feed into the showcasing, where we're going to feed into the extra light and the extra promotion and the extra debut that will be a big part of the weekend. Once the moon goes into Mercury's sign, we're now also in Mercury Cazimi territory. So our logical brain, the things that must be communicated, the things that need to be signed off on, the things that need to be worked through, the things that have needed to be agreed upon, now have some extra layer of showcasing, some extra layer of information, some extra layer of logic for some, from some extra layer of information for others. That's feeding into what we're going to be doing, what we're going to be communicating, what we're going to be showcasing and debuting over the course of the weekend. There's going to be a lot of busy, mental busy energy, communicative busy energy, travel busy energy, with as heavily mercurial activated we are once the moon goes into Gemini. It's going to be busy on all levels. Chatter, 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 move, 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 go, 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 announce, 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 announce. Now, again, Jupiter is in that sextile to Mercury once the moon goes into Gemini. These happen simultaneously. And then everything that follows hits that stair step vibration. Between 5:30 and 7:30 p.m., I got it now at 5:30. The moon is going to go through a sextile from Neptune. So whatever was going on Monday afternoon can be feeding into Friday afternoon. Monday, whenever the moon hit the conjunction to Saturn, Neptune, and then the sextile to Uranus and the sextile to Pluto. Now we're kind of hitting that pattern all over again, but it's further along. We know more, we understand more, we've talked about more, we've been working on more. There's stair steps to this vibration that speaks to a build up towards something. Okay, the moon is going to go through the sextile now from Neptune between 6 and 8:30 p.m. I'm just going to say both of them simultaneously. The moon is going to hit this conjunction to Uranus. Simultaneously, it is going to go through a trine from Pluto. Now, I do like the trines from Pluto a little bit more than I like the squares and the oppositions, because there feels like a little bit more logical understanding. While the moon is hitting this conjunction to Uranus, the trine from Pluto, the sextile from Neptune, please look at Mercury. It's entering that Cazimi. It's not exact yet. It actually goes exact on Saturday morning, but it feels like we have the ability to understand, commit to, overcome fear and frustration around what we've been holding on to. And it feels like we can put something together. It feels like we can get something confirmed. It feels like an excitement vibration in regards to what we're starting to put together. What is getting debuted? What is getting released? What is getting confirmed? For some people, though, this is going to be the unexpected reveal. This is going to be a blindsiding vibration. It's not going to be something that we were anticipating, only because of the moon and Uranus. If we're going to have the unexpected vibration, that's going to be Friday. If it is just about the showcasing and reveal, that's the rest of the weekend. So let's be aware of that. If we're going to have something in the expect the unexpected, I feel like it's more likely to happen on Friday. Okay, again, the moon's hitting that conjunction to Uranus. Jupiter is in this sextile to this Cazimi as it is building. We don't have any more direct transits to the 12th, so we're going to bump it into the 13th. And our one and only transit, again, it's the one I've been harping on for a little bit, between 5:31 a.m. and 6:09 a.m. This is whenever it's the most exact. Mercury is going to go into the heart of the sun. Many of us are going to wake up Saturday morning with clarity, with something different on our mind, something different in focus, something that we want to debut, showcase, understand. Some of us are not going to necessarily have the wake up. It's going to be more along the lines of something is going to happen that brings something to light, that brings something into focus, that shows something off. And again, there's been a lot of buildup to some level of show off as to what's been going on in the energy. And a lot of this show off also feels like it's a result of the things that we've been doing, the things that have changed over the course of the summer. If I back it up and I remind everybody, we made certain decisions in late May and all of June that led to the testing vibration that was a part of July and August, the Mercury retrograde. And once Mercury left shadow, we went into the pre-show of eclipse season. Now we're actually in eclipse season. And one half of the eclipse axis is ruled by Mercury. This Mercury Cazimi of whatever is coming to light, whatever is getting announced, whatever is coming into focus, whatever is getting revealed, directly impacts what we will be doing, what we will be dealing with once we get to that Virgo eclipse on September 21st. These are connected. Very heavy mercurial stuff now. And again, the Mercury Cazimi is the only direct transit that is happening on the 13th. We have a couple things building. We have a couple things going on, a couple things kind of going on below the surface, some things that are being activated internally. Some of you are going to have some of these transits happening on natal placements, and that's going to have an internalized activation for you. But when it comes to just the transits, Yeah, the Mercury Cazimi is the only one, and it's in the morning time. So don't be surprised if at any time throughout the day you're seeing that human effect of like showcasing something, telling people about something, showing something off. Don't be surprised. It's just kind of in that vibration. All right. Now we're going to keep this going. We're going to get into the 14th. We're going to get into Sunday. And for the majority of the day, the moon is going to be in Gemini. The moon is still in Mercury's sign. Therefore, we are still in the showcase vibration. We are still in the logical vibration. We are still in the communication vibration. We are still very focused on whatever Mercury rules for you. In the overnight hours, I'm going to pump this to 6:30 because it's going to do both at the same time. Between 4:30 and 6:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to hit a square to the sun. That is going to be the last quarter moon. Again, we're in the wind down towards the actual lunar eclipse. It's going to happen in, not lunar, solar eclipse. It's going to happen in Virgo. I can't talk now. I got used to saying lunar eclipse the last few weeks. We're building towards that lunar, solar eclipse. Solar. Dusty is, yeah. Anyways. Simultaneously, this moon is going to go through a square with Mercury. This gives logic, this gives direction, this gives an idea. Some people, it is whenever another person is talking to someone that has just revealed something, that has just debuted something, and it's like the additional layers of questions, additional levels of communication, additional lines of focus about an action that will be taking place soon, but it is not in the immediate vibration of taking place. The moon is going to go through that again. Last quarter moon, we're gearing towards the solar eclipse. It's just, we're a week away from it. The moon is also going to hit that square to Mercury. It is a questioning, it is a push, it is direction. It does not have to be heavy. Now, bump this just about 2 more hours, get this to 8:30. Between 8 a.m. and 10:30 a.m., the moon in Gemini is going to make a sextile to Venus. Immediately after this, I'm going to bump this now to 9:30. The moon will also start a trine to Mars. The reason I feel like the moon hitting the square to the sun and Mercury when it was earlier in the morning, that it feels like an extra layer of question, direction, permission, or ideas, is because of this building sextile between Venus and Mars. This does not go exact until a few more days from now, but it feels like we give guidance to something. We give direction towards something, towards an action. We give information towards an action of something, again, that we want to showcase. Some people are doing the next layers of what's already been revealed. Other people are taking what's been revealed and doing the work to make the announcement reality. It's more along the lines of like, we're going to buy this house. Then the next week you're actually at the house. Like, do we actually close in a week? Most states, no, but still it's that type of thing. We found a car. That's a lighter way to do it. But now we have to go through all the financing, and we have to go through like cleaning out the old car for the trade-in, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's that level. It's like we found something in the Cazimi, but it's going to require some additional work over the next few days to finalize it, if that makes any sense. All right. The moon hits the sextile to Venus and the trine to Mars between 8 a.m. and noon. So again, we can have some busy vibration. We can also have some very big internal things that are starting to set in, given that we have another thing that's happening. And I feel like I'm not going to get real heavy on the next thing that's happening. I feel like it's going to be more what sets the stage for the next week. But I want to be clear that it is actually happening on Sunday. And that actually has to do with the hidden transits. We have a Contra-ANTISCIA between Neptune and Saturn, and it is actually our second one. Previous ones happened back in April timeframe. We will have one more of these that'll happen like right before Saturn goes back into Aries. This actually goes roughly right around the 12:30 area. Basically, if I was to take this chart and fold it where Aries and Pisces meet, Neptune and Saturn are in a secret, not clear to everyone conjunction. We're having meetings about something, we're talking about something, we're planning through something. And this adds layers. And I feel like some of us that we start to feel internally pulled to do, pulled to say, pulled to work on, has extra layers that will have immediate guidance to them. And this is going to take me into the afternoon. So put a pin in that contra-ANTISCIA. We're not done. We're just moving this forward now. Between 4:30 and 6:30 p.m., Saturn is going to hit a square to the moon. This feels a little harsh. This feels a little judgmental. This does have a little bit of frustration tied to it. At 7:31 p.m., the moon is going to go into Cancer. So bump this now to 8:30. The moon is now in Cancer. And as soon as the moon goes into Cancer, from that 8 to 10:30 p.m. standpoint, Neptune is going to hit a square to the moon. And as much as we've had other things going on, we can still have those layers of emotional triggers. And I feel like Saturn going through a very harsh square to the moon and then Neptune immediately following it, it's like it triggers a new set of emotions once the moon goes into Cancer, but it's new emotions about an old wound, about old decisions, about old insecurities. And we're kind of confused. Now, that doesn't take away from everything else that we've been working on. The thing about life is that it's very, very complex. And I feel like once the moon goes into Cancer, there's a complexity here. There's a lingering vibration that's starting to come through. But if you don't know the lingering vibration that somebody else is dealing with, then you can be very hurt by their words, by their actions, by their beliefs, by what they're doing. Because I feel like suddenly we can have this moment of like, you've been working on something else, but you finally come home after doing all that work, and your spouse, your parent, your roommate, somebody who's had this whole other thing going on in life because it's a very busy week, that they're either so consumed by their inspiration that it's like you get very, activated because the whole house is just like covered in paint supplies. You're like, this is overstimulating. And again, an old situation, an old idea, an old inspiration of some sort, kind of flooding a new emotion to the forefront because you've never seen your house like this. In some ways, you're going to hear something that you've never heard before. And again, it brings up a whole different emotion, but it's like, have you always felt this way? Grandpa, I didn't know you were racist. Most of us have a racist grandpa or an uncle or something. Sometimes there's an old belief that finds its way to the surface, and it's just like it brings a new emotion of like, I didn't know you felt that way, and two, I don't even know how I feel about how you feel. And I feel like that moon in Cancer, as soon as it goes into Cancer, we got something new coming through. For some people, it's going to be rosy daisy, it can be inspirational. And it kind of sets the entire stage for whatever you're dealing with, whatever with the moon going into Cancer. And that again is Sunday evening. It's going to be part of Monday and Tuesday of the following week. But that moon in Cancer has something that kind of triggers whether it's going to go and be a positive emotion for you and a positive step forward, or if it is a unresolved past things coming back around, that unfinished business trauma trigger vibration, and whether we're going to be dealing with something like that. As soon as the moon goes into Cancer, it's immediately having some level of impact to set the stage for how our mood is going to be for the next 2.5 days. And again, you can see that right here. Saturn will square the moon, Neptune will square the moon. But what I look at with Neptune hitting that contra-ANTISCIA to Saturn while it's squaring the moon, I really do feel like there's going to be stuff below the surface. There's going to be stuff that we didn't know. There's going to be that extra round, that extra layer, that extra part of a belief. Neptune can be a belief. A symptom. Neptune can be a symptom. It can be an addiction, but it can also be an inspiration. But sometimes, again, if we're feeling inspired to do something and we didn't tell our roommate that we're going to unload all of these craft supplies all over the house, and they come home, they'll be like, oh, I can't handle all of this. It looks manic. It looks crazy. It's driving me up on OCD wall. I'm way, way, way too activated right now. I'm overstimulated. I gotta go. Be aware that sometimes we can trigger the overstimulation. We can trigger something in another person just as much as they can trigger us. And be mindful of where your vibration is whenever it comes to that latter half of Sunday. Now, if you are dealing with something with an elder, then this can again bring those old wounds, that old trauma, those old beliefs to the surface. There's something about Neptune hitting that Contra-ANTISCIA, because Neptune is the stronger in the Contra-ANTISCIA to Saturn. Some kind of belief of some sort that gets activated, and it does get activated on Sunday. But really, whenever it comes to the energy that will follow it, I feel like we're building up to something that does get activated, but I feel like it kind of fuels the belief and the pattern for the following week. And it sets the stage for something that will happen around the eclipse, around the Virgo eclipse, and the days following. So the internal activation, it's very hard to pinpoint at this moment. As we get through the week and I can see like the human effect of not only myself, but other people, it'll help me narrow that down just a hair more. And I feel like I'm going to talk about it a little bit more as like the startup of next week, because it does feel like internalized vibration for a lot of people. And it either feels like a belief that we no longer agree to. We see the actions of an elder and we're no longer inspired by them. You suddenly hear your grandfather. I'm always picking on grandpas. I'm sorry. It's probably because I don't really have any. That's why I was saying it that way, probably. But whenever it comes to grandpa and you hear that belief for the first time, like you hear the most racist thing, you didn't know there was an issue, but you brought home your new boyfriend and your new boyfriend is not a color he agrees with. I'm just going to go with the most cliche thing. Hear me out. And you hear something you've never heard before. It's like, because of that belief, it also makes you like repel and like, I don't want to be connected with you. If you come home and you see that overstimulating mess all over the house, and you're like, oh, I didn't know you had these kinds of episodes. I didn't know that you wanted to do this kind of stuff. How long is it going to stay here? Oh, you want all of your craft project to be out for the next month? I don't know that I can live with this. I don't know that I can do this. And there's going to be a test. There's going to be a trigger. And whatever gets triggered in that little bit of vibration, it's going to set a mood. Whatever sets the mood is going to bring forth the next forth of logical awareness. And this mood, this awareness, whatever is coming to light, it can still be a part of the clarity. It can still be one extra element that speaks to clarity, because if you start to see somebody in a different light, it is hard to take it back. You can uncrumple a piece of paper, but it's still going to have the lines. It's still going to be there. The awareness is there. And once we become clear about something by the end of the next week, there will be an awareness in a lot of us as to like something we're going to move away from, an old belief, an old pattern, an old person. And sometimes that's going to have an emotional trigger to it of just like, but he's my favorite grandpa. He's my favorite person. He was my best friend for so many years. But I can't handle. And that's the universe in little ways showing you sometimes we don't need to be responsible for certain people. We don't need to keep carrying responsibilities for certain people. And there's something very fueled in that Contra-ANTISCIA. And I know that's a hidden transit, but those hidden transits have activations to them. And I usually see them as an internal activation. For some people, the logical vibration of the Mercury Cazimi will also fuel and impact a new belief. And some people will not be supportive of that belief. Other people are going to think it's great. You do you. I'm not doing it. I'm here to watch you. I'm here to support you. I will sing your praises all day long, but I don't need to do that. Some people are going to learn something in that Contra-ANTISCIA that we thought was another way, but it's like the lie can't continue the rose-colored glasses don't continue. And it sets the stage for like a different emotional awareness. Something new is coming through when the moon goes into Cancer. But it also still feeding into the vibration around the logic, the vibration around the clarity, the truth, whatever is coming through. Sometimes the truth does set us free. Sometimes the truth is hard to swallow. And I feel like once we get to Sunday, that's a better way to describe Sunday. Is sometimes the truth will be very hard to swallow, but that doesn't mean that it's not real, that it's not true. And again, there's a lot of revealing, there's a lot of clarity, there's a lot of information, there's a lot of truth that encompasses, especially the second half of the week. And once we get through the moon in Gemini, there's a new emotions that is coming through. Therefore, some people will see the things that come to light. They will see the things that get revealed. And they will have a different form of belief that starts to form. For some people, that just is like rekindling an old emotion we didn't know was there, an old connection we didn't know was there, an old vibration. And it can go well. But for other people, it's going to be the rekindling of something we didn't even realize that we needed to focus on, something we didn't realize was there. And it's going to bring forth a new emotion that we need to work through. And it's going to be a very heavy part of Sunday evening. So there's that. All in all, I feel like this is a productive week, but I also feel like you can only do so much production in one moment. And you can have a conversation, and then your next conversation, your next step, your next bit of clarity, the next part might not be for a day or two. But that doesn't mean that we don't still work towards a goal. We're not still working towards getting something set up and getting something put into motion. Because we are. But the full elements of what we will be starting, really rolling out, do not come through this week. Layers, levels, commitments towards it come through this week, but not the full aspects of something. A lot of us, the full aspects are going to be a part of that eclipse, and it's going to let us know our new steps forward. But there are inklings towards the weekend, the 12th, the 13th, and the 14th, that are giving direction. It's giving ideas. It's giving glimpses of what will truly start to showcase and step forward and take forward once we get into the actual Virgo eclipse. So we have the ability to be productive, but we are not accomplishing things. We're not reaching full goals per se. We're reaching steps towards the goals throughout this week. And there can be some murkiness. There can be some confusion. But really, all in all, I'm ready for the showcase. I'm ready for the debut. If it's having to do with truth, just remember, in the long run, the truth will set you free. And I hope it goes well. Okay. I love and appreciate every single one of you. Hit me up with questions. Hit me up with concerns. I'll talk to everybody very, very soon. Subscribe.